Back in my old school in England, I used to get the bus to and from school. There was always someone who would start a fight with people from our school for the mere fact that we went to our school and our school was Jewish. So they get up, and two of them, one of them stays, the one that was directly behind me. Two of them go to the front of the bus, and as they're going down the stairs, they take a D battery, one of the large ones, and they just throw it, and it's coming straight for my face. Disgusting. No one stands up. No one stands up, no one does anything. Because if you do, then the bus drivers, who are also anti-Semitic, they kick you off.
A few of them picked up stones and they started throwing them at the bus. And most of them missed, most of them just didn't do anything, but one of them actually hit the bus window and it broke. And obviously there's broken glass all over the floor. We were made to get off the bus because it was dangerous, just standing, waiting for the next bus, just hoping nothing's going to happen to us.
So back when I was in the 5th grade, I actually switched schools from a public school to a small private school. And I had the unfortunate experience of having a person in that class who, when they found out I was Jewish, early in the school year, had an aluminum baseball bat. And when we were out on the field, which was a little farther away from where the classrooms are and not many teachers around, would chase after me, trying to swing the bat at me, and he called it his Hitler bat.
He announced to our group, everyone who wants to ditch the Jewish kid, raise your hand. And almost everyone in our group raised their hand, and they said, all right, guys, let's go. And he walked out of the store. And then all my friends laughed and said, did you actually think we were serious? And I was like, so they all think this is like a joke.
He was imitating me, exaggerating, like, oh my god, like that kind of thing. He would pick me as a target, like he would like push a chair into me, or he would just do things like that.
I applied for a job at a summer camp. The guy who runs the camp looked at me and said, why didn't you go swimming at all last summer? And I said, I have hearing aids, they can't get wet. If I take them out, I'm not going to be able to hear what's going on. If I keep them in, and I'm not going to be able to go swimming. I said, the kids need to have someone who can hear them when they're working with them. It's safer for me to help the kids from the outside of the pool. He didn't like my response, but I think legally he said, you can't deny me the job because of my hearing aids.
Right at the end of student teaching, I was offered a position with the Burbank School District, and one of the male teachers in my student teaching cohort got very angry that I received the position over him, and his take on it was he had a family to support, and I was a woman and had a husband who could support me.
So her mom would pass me in the car and flip me off and just like scream kike and like just scream discriminating names. They would make me think that there was something wrong about who I was and what I believed in and what my family believed in.
I was going over to my friend's house, and so she got off the phone, she came back to me and she said, okay, we'll go to my house. I said, is everything okay? She said, yeah, my mom is just not being very nice right now. I said, okay. And I said, hi, I'm Samantha, we had never met before. She said, what's your last name? I said, Rivera. She said, oh, so you're Spanish. I said, I'm Mexican, my grandparents are from Mexico. And she said, oh. What happened was the mom wasn't comfortable that I was Mexican in her home.
And as you get older, as it goes on, and it's every single day on the way home, you've either learnt to block it out, or you just couldn't care less anymore, because it's every single day. It gets to a point where you're like, I don't want this anymore. And I stood up and I walked over to them and I shouted things that I shouldn't have shouted, but at the same time they shouldn't be saying anything. They shouldn't be goading us into retaliating.
And I just ignored it and stood up for myself and said that this was not a gender issue. It was who they felt was the best fit for that position.
At the end of 7th grade, I got another group of friends that were good friends, and they stood up for me. Like, they were there for me when I needed them. They would like talk me, like they would just like help me out. But not a lot of them stood up for me like I would have wanted to. I pretty much had to stand up for myself.
I stood up for myself physically against him, but he retaliated very physically, where he got me in a chokehold. But in the end, I was free of that in the end, and he learned that it wasn't the right thing to do.
The interesting, or not so interesting, postscript to this is that the young man who was the one who was chasing me later joined a white supremacist neo-Nazi group, and probably about 15 years ago or 20 years ago now, beat up a African couple in the parking lot of a store in where I grew up, and he's now serving, I think, a life or a very long prison term because of that.
My friend stood up for me. And she said, I heard her say, she is a human being, she's a person, it doesn't matter where she comes from or where her family comes from. I remember being very happy that I had a friend like that, and that was really wonderful, but I ended up feeling very uncomfortable, and I left. I left because I wasn't welcome, obviously, in that house.